So it's been a nice weekend. The Redhead has had some time to dry from its third coats, and I'm going to clean off the eyes real quick, and we'll take a look at what's underneath. It's hard to, if you have a hard time scraping it off, what I do is I dip it into a little bit of turpentine, which I have right here. And that just softens up the oil paint that's dried. Want to be careful when you approach the eye ring and the inside area of the eye ring so that you don't nick the paint right off. It can take a few minutes to get past this. A little fuzzy there. A lot of carvers, I don't know, I just think it's because they forget. They just get into the throw of getting ready for the show, and they forget to clean the eyes off on their birds. And it's so sad because it would have taken so little effort to do that. And the whole life of your bird is in the eye. And for some reason, saliva works really well. That's what I just dripped right there. And aids in clearing off what's left after a good pass with the lacquer thinner on the toothpick. Of course, you don't want to keep licking the end of the toothpick after you've exposed it to the paint. I have a good supply. I'm going to use clean ones. I'm going to come back and paint the eye ring with some detail in gray and a little bit, and lighten it up a little. Big difference between this, or should I say this, and that. So after I get these eyes cleaned off, I'm going to work on the bill detail. If you happen to nick some of the eye ring, then you can come back and touch it up when you do, when I paint the eye ring with detail. You have to look at it from below to see everything. That's the whole surface of the eye that may have paint on it. There. Much better. Now, talk a little bit about the brushes I'm going to be using for painting the detail onto this bill. And I'm using old brushes that were once just as long as, say, the 1/4 inch. They're probably this long. And there's like hardly anything left of them, but they are a very useful tool. You can see the different 5873, 5871 of the Royal Laying Nickel. This is a 4, this is a 4, this is a 3. This one is a round, where the other ones were either brights or filberts. So, when I look at these bills, and I've got a close-up, you can see, you know, the detail of the bill here. And you can see a little bit of that blue that's on the underside of the lower mandible. Black goes up into the points, and then there's black and gray on the nostril, and the darker blue kind of mottled color in the bill. And see this little, how it gets light just on the inside of the upper mandible next to the front and on the side of the nail. You can see that because the bill's open. This is a drip of water coming off of there, but you can see the eye detail is black, but because of reflections that happen because it's wet, it'll be important for me to come and put a white highlight around the eye, and that's the, I'll probably do that with gray or blue, this light blue that I have. So I'm going to mix up some darker blue for this detail, which will be achieved with the real blue, the light blue that I had for the initial base coats, and then I'll add a little bit more blue to it and a little bit of the dark brownish black to bring it down. So put my well, let's do some mixing first. I'm going to mix up that medium blue that I mentioned. And that's a way too bright of a blue, but it's a little vivid. So I'm going to tone it down by taking out a little bit of the dark brown, just lifting up that little bit of that edge to expose the wet brown paint. And this is going to tone down the blue. It'll still be a blue, but it's going to be that gray blue that I see on the bill in the darker areas. The other thing that I notice is just before the dark on the end of the bill, towards the tip, it gets real light. It gets real light all along here by comparison to this area. You can see lightness. You can see how light it is here, and up to the bill it's almost white when you hit that transition point. Then you have your medium blue, which is what I just mixed, and then you have more of that light blue. And once I put on the dark brown that I have here, I'll come back and highlight with ivory black, but I'm just going to use these three colors for now. The light blue needs to be mixed again. That did not take very much blue at all. And the white, it's a straight titanium white. Add just a little bit more. And then I want to leave a little bit of that white set aside for that transition color that I mentioned just a minute ago. So here we have our light blue, our white, and our medium blue, plus we'll have our dark blackish, brownish black. So the first thing I do is get the brush out that I'm going to need to apply the majority of the black on the tip. I want to get that laid in fairly soon here. So I have a, this is the same as this brush. They're just worn down slant tips. I'm going to move my 50-50 back to the plate. Check my hands to make sure I didn't get anything on them when I was mixing paint. And I'm going to start laying in the dark of the bill, using that 50-50 only. And I see this black extending right up to about here. It extends into the nail. And I might be using it a little bit thicker than I would anywhere else, partially because this is smooth and partially because it's part of the technique. You don't want your edge to be a hard line. There's really no hard line in these photographs. I see on 3 different Redhead Drake bills. In that picture I showed you. It's 3 different pairs of Redhead Drake eyes and 3 different Drake's bills. So I'm going to extend that coloration all the way up to working it into that lamella there. So it has a nice coat. It doesn't hurt to go ahead and just add another coat of black here. Now what I'll do is I'll just let this all set up and I'll come back and do a little bit of blending with a dry brush in a little while. And that will soften the transition line and do some different kind of blending. I just want the darker color to start setting up on the bill right now. And that'll get it going. Another place that I see that needs, and it's not that much. On the inside, and then down a little bit. And I'll be coming back and doing the same dry brushing. After this sets up for a little while. Just want to be evenly uneven. Okay, then I'm going to switch around to a different brush. And we have the light blue paint, so I can go back and forth without worrying about if I was even, I can even things out if I need to with the blue. So before I lay this brush down, I'm wiping it out. And for around the bill, where it meets the face, I'm going to use my Raphael. They can be a bit more accurate with that. Just going in and grabbing some of that wet paint underneath the skimmy edge. And just like I did around the nostrils and on the tip of the bill, I'll be letting this dry up so I can come back and blend it. Now I also see right along the top in the center black that goes all the way down. I mean, that alone makes a big difference, but not done yet. And you see how I'm just kind of tapping instead of actually painting a hard line. I don't see a hard line on these photos in the real bird. It gets real thin up here. Kind of grows as it goes down.